to you, gardening friends. It's now Saturday, and I want to cover kind of what's been going on this week. The main thing, I have been watching things a little bit more carefully. The tree did not run out of water this time, and it's still looking healthy and still has water in it, so we're good there. And some of the plants have actually grown up a little bit. Unfortunately, a couple of them are not looking so good, and I pulled a couple out. So let's kind of go through and show you what's going on. Now, starting on the right side of my little mini garden in the kitchen, the ivy is doing pretty much the same as it was before. I need to look that up and see if maybe there's something better I can do with it. This particular tomato has not sprouted yet, interestingly enough, and let me look on the bottom. That is the Red Robin tomato, but let's see, yeah, it is in picture here. I've got this one here which sprouted separately in the incubator and is doing pretty nicely. I've also got the debut tomato next to it, which is doing nicely. Over in these two pots, what I've got is, this was a bean, and the bean pretty much died, and I think what it is really is that in the incubator they get much more sort of concentrated light, and they're in an enclosed area, so they're getting some heat, so that kind of helps them out. That one did not do so well, and a couple of days ago I put another seed in there, and I keep watering, and I'm hoping that'll pop before too long. Next to that we should have nasturtium, and that has not popped yet. I'm not sure what's going on with that. And then over here in the red one, we've got the Swiss chard, which has the multiple stems on it, and it's kind of hanging on. I just remember Swiss chard being a lot sort of beefier, but then these are really just true leaves at this point, so we'll see what's going on with that. In the middle, I've got this white plant. Well, you know what, actually, well, that is just barely in frame there. I'm not even sure. I think there was a bean in there and that died, and I'm not sure if I put a seed in there or not, but I may ultimately end up pulling that out, and I'll explain that in a little bit. Moving over to the left side of the garden, we've got another ivy over here, which is doing again about the same. We've got another, this would be the microtom tomato, which has not sprouted yet either, although this one right here is also microtom. This was my backup, and that was sitting in the incubator, and that's doing okay. Over here should be another nasturtium, and over here is a bean, and let me actually zoom in on that. I've zoomed in as far as this camera will go from this distance, and I'm hoping you can see it right there. I've got, it's rather dirty, so it's not completely obvious, but that has sprouted, and that was a bean I planted, I'm guessing about last week, and I have to go back and look at my previous episode to see, but at least I've got a bean sprouting, so we'll see if in these individual planters, instead of what I'd done before in all the cases, all the other cases of the beans, was that I had transplanted them after I got them to sprout, and I think that's what was killing them. There's not sort of enough life inside in terms of the light or whatever conditions to replicate the outside. There's not enough life to keep them going on a transplant. I think transplanting puts them into shock, but if they have all the right conditions, then they do okay. And so in this case, I'm attempting to actually just grow them straight in the pots, and that's that. The other thing I wanted to mention, let me pull out. I'm hoping you can sort of see the difference. I've got a couple of new lights. Actually, I should probably show you the lights first. This may be the only time I show you these lights, because it's really not all that interesting, except to say that I realized I had a couple of light fixtures from my old place that I wasn't using even really over there, and then I moved them over here thinking maybe I'll be able to use them somehow. Finally occurred to me this week after searching online, trying to come up with ideas, not wanting to spend too much money. I already had light fixtures, and I could put them in, and then they would, let me try and pan down here, light up the garden. And so what I did was, I was off at IKEA, where I originally got those lights. They don't make this color anymore. At least the lampshades on those lights are white. They only make them in gray now. And I was trying to figure out maybe if they had replacement bulbs, because IKEA has gone all LED at this point. They don't sell incandescents, they don't sell fluorescents, they sell LED and some halogens. So the one on the left is actually the LED replacement for the original compact fluorescent, which is in the right one. And so I bought one of those because it's $8 just for one little bulb. And I just wanted to see if there was any difference. There is indeed some difference, and the plants actually seem to be doing a little bit better under that light. The other thing I wanted to show you was these three pots here. These represent all three of the different types of pots that I have, besides the plastic cups that I've been trying to grow things in. And actually, now that I think of it, that kind of worries me in terms of transplanting, if the transplantings are failing because of the lack of life in here. But I have these three different pots, and I wanted to see what the difference was in terms of volume between them. So what I'm going to do is fill them up with water, pour them into a bucket that has some, or a container that has some graduations on it, kind of like a beaker, and measure it out and see what, how much of a difference there is between them. So let's take a look. Now this is going to be a little bit tricky. I filled that container, the yellow one, almost all the way to the top. I'm just a little afraid if I go a little too far it's going to start spilling over, and it's going to be hard to pick it up and dump it in without a problem. So let's see what we get. And so far I don't think I've actually dripped anything on the counter, although it's sliding over as I do it. There we go. So let me take a reading on this, and it looks like, hang on, it was a little hard to read. It's just under 700 milliliters. Actually, if I filled it exactly to the top, it would have been about 700 milliliters. So 700 milliliters is 0.7 liters. Let's take a look at another one. Now before I do this, I do want to point out that when you're looking at volume, and I actually thought about doing a whole tutorial on the math behind it. It gets a little complicated. There are certain ways you can simplify it, but the easiest way to do it, if you know how, is actually to use a little bit of calculus. I'm not going to get into that here. If anybody's interested, I might actually do a whole video on the calculus of calculating volume. But what I wanted to point out is that this is square and this is a circle on the top. And a square will hold more volume than a circle. But on the other hand, this one's a little bit taller than that one. So I'm guessing that this one's going to come in right about the same amount of volume. Let's find out. Now I just took the 700 milliliters from the first one, or the almost 700, and poured it directly back into that one, and it's almost exactly to the top. So let me top it off and we'll find out. I do realize the lighting here is not all that good, so I moved one of the lights that was up above so it would point over here. Hopefully that'll make it a little easier to see. This is very, very full. I'm going to try without spilling. Dropped a little. Okay, so my memory card ran out. As it turned out, I put this one in and measured it, and it came out to about 720, so a little bit more than the original, than the yellow one, this one right here. So this one's a little larger than that one. I now have a third one which I wanted to look at, and I took the water from this after I emptied it into the bucket. I took the water from the bucket, put it in there, and then topped this one off. So let me move these out of the way, and we'll attempt to fill that bucket with what's in here. Now when I poured the water that was in the purple one into the white one here, it didn't fill it all the way to the top, so I had to top it off. Now I'm going to attempt, it's kind of a live TV kind of thing, although it's just YouTube, not TV. Let's see if we can do this. I panned up a bit so you can actually see it. This is a little crazy trying to do this. You know what, I'm going to go ahead and just pour it in and I'll tell you. Alright, anyone got a guess? I'll let you think about that for a moment. I doubt you're going to be able to really read the numbers on there, considering how dark it is, and I have poor lighting in here. One of these days I'll figure that out. But here's your answer. It's almost bang on 1 liter. or 1,000 versus the 720 for the purple one and just below 700 for the yellow one. So that's my little experiment for this week. Now I know how much volume each one of these has and how much soil it can contain, and I can kind of use that to try and figure out how I want to plan my garden. I like these white pots over here. I'm thinking about kind of replacing a lot of the pots that I have now with that one, because you compare the little less than 700 to just on 1,000, or 1 liter of water, half a 2-liter bottle, if you will. I'm thinking about, making some changes here and there. This is the beginning of the year for me. The beginning of the season is always a matter of experimentation and trying to figure out where I'm going this year. So we'll see what I come up with. I'll continue to watch the plants this week, and we'll see where we are next week. This is the Budget Gardener signing off and saying, may your thumb, even if it's indoors, be green.